What is an ICP? And how is that different from a buyer persona or a user persona? Whew, lots of different things. Let's dive in. Hey, I'm Matt Wolach, and I help software leaders grow their companies by finding more leads, closing more demos, and scaling their revenue. So I'm glad you're here. If you want to make sure to get my best tips, hit the subscribe button right now. That way you're going to be notified of all of the best tips and tricks on how to scale your company and grow your revenues. Now, today we're going to be talking about ICP and buyer and user persona. A lot of people kind of mix these up. They say, well, everything's kind of the same, right? Actually, they're very different. And we want to make sure to signify the differences so you don't confuse them and you actually go through the process the right way. So, first things first, ICP. What's an ICP? Well, it stands for Ideal Customer Profile. An ideal customer profile basically lays out who your best customer is. Now, what most people get wrong on this, you see it all over Twitter, you see it all over LinkedIn, people talking about ICP, they're actually talking about it incorrectly in many cases. Not everybody, but in many cases. And what they say is the ICP is a person. It is not. An ICP, an ideal customer profile, is not a person. It is a company. It's the profile of the type of company you should be working with. It refers to geography. It refers to size or budget level or tools they might be using. All sorts of different factors so that you can determine, are these people within this scope of companies that we want to work with? Companies that we will be able to help. They're going to get value from us. Companies that will love us. They'll recognize it. And companies who are going to stay with us for a long time. It's really important to identify this because once you know your ICP, you can develop your product towards them, making sure the product fits exactly for what they need. You can make your marketing messaging fit right into what they're needing and what they care about. It'll get them emotional. And you can make sure your sales process aligns with them and for them. Everything lines up once you understand these types of companies who are going to get the most value from you. So an ICP, an ideal customer profile, is a company piece of information, okay? It's really important to have this, by the way, and make sure that you keep track of who it is, what it is, and you actually go through this process. A lot of companies don't, but definitely go through identifying what makes companies who are great fits for you perfect. Okay, so that's ICP. Now, so far, if you're liking this, hit that like button down there. And if you have questions or if you have comments or if you just want to say thanks, I really love getting those, by the way. A lot of times you guys say thanks. Thank you for doing that. Just write that down there. Thanks, Matt. Really appreciate it. That tells me this is awesome. That way I can get you more stuff like this. Okay, so we've got our ICP. Now let's talk about the personas. We have a buyer persona and we have a user persona. I'll go backwards. A user persona, now we're talking about a person. This is a person who will use your product. They're the ones who are going to actually be there, clicking the buttons, using the system, getting the value out of it. Now, a user persona, it's important to identify who this person is. What is their role? How old are they? Maybe what gender are they? What do they like? What do they worry about? What are they scared of? What are they hoping for? All of those things you want to understand so you can better attract these types of people to your product. You can better sell them once you do attract them. You have a better understanding of who you're even building the product for. So to have this user persona laid out so that you and anybody else who's part of your company can really understand it is very, very important. So we've got our user persona. But what's a buyer persona? Well, a buyer persona is looking at the same things, but now it's not necessarily the person who's using the product, but it's the person who's buying your product, who's paying for your product. Now, this is an important role because you need to understand if those are different people. Is the user persona different from the buyer persona? Or if you're talking directly to a decision maker who's using the product, those are the same. But that's not always the case. So it's important to understand maybe you've got a middle manager, but they're not the actual decision maker. They're not the ones who are deciding if they're going to buy your product. They're not the buyer persona. So having both of those is important because there are different messages that go to each person. And this is key. If you're telling a user all about the cost savings, they might not care. If you're telling the buyer persona all about the efficiencies, they might not care. You got to make sure you message the right person with the right message. And that's why you want to distinguish these things. Now you know, super important to have the ICP, the buyer persona, and the user persona all spelled out, all listed out so you and everybody in your company knows and understands them. Now, if you want to make sure to have templates, I have templates of these and you can steal steal my templates. Just grab them. Down below, there's a link. Click that link, and you can get these templates to start creating your ICP, create your buyer persona, create your user persona. These are stuff that I usually reserve for just my clients, but I'm giving them to you. So they're free. Go grab them. Start creating these. It's that important. You've got to have these. So down below, you'll see it. And once you open it up, these are all fillable. I've got it so it's just fillable. You just start typing right in. Super, super simple. Go grab those. By the way, if you like this, again, hit that like. And if you have questions or thoughts or just want to say thank you, put that comment down below. That'll make sure that I understand this was good for you. Or maybe it wasn't. Maybe it sucked. Then we can get you some other stuff in the future. Again, make sure you're subscribed to the channel and hit that little bell so you get notified of any new stuff coming out so you don't miss out. But I want to make sure I can help you get to your next level. Thanks for coming. We'll see you next time. Take care.